So the last piece of this too is if anything we do talk about today gets you thinking, I really do need to speak to a counselor, part of the exit ticket is letting us know that, and we'll follow up with you as soon as possible within the next week or even day if it's an urgent concern. So welcome to our We All Have Mental Health presentation, and we're joined today by some terrific sources of strength, peer leaders that are really going to lead the presentation.
And I just want to note, I'm following the chat, and I think that we're getting a little off, and it's really not appropriate to suggest you don't want to be here. We know you're tired, but this is super important. So please, let's be mindful that, the adults here are reading the chat, and stick to only writing in there when we ask you to.
Okay, I'm going to go to our next slide, and our first presenter is Savannah.
Okay, so we can't always control our emotions or how we feel, but as we'll learn today, there are 3 things that people can do to promote good mental health and reduce stress. Many of the decisions we make every day about what we eat, how much we sleep, how active we are, and the ways we manage our lives can make an enormous impact on the way we feel emotionally. So in the first part of our presentation, you will learn how everyone deserves good mental health, how mental health is balanced, the ability to manage stress and achieve one's potential, how stress is normal, but too much can increase the risk for health problems like depression, and how small improvements in nutrition, sleep, exercise, and coping skills can help us to better manage stress and achieve mental health. So next we have a series of true and false questions. So please use the yes or no functions to indicate what you think the correct answer is. And if you click on the 3 dots in the upper right hand corner of your Zoom screen, if you're on an iPad, you will see a green check mark and a red X. So you'll use those to show yes or no. So true or false, we all have mental health. Okay, so the answer for that one is true. I think most of you guys got that one right. So next, our physical health is more important than our mental health. So that one is false. Bit of a mixed opinion on that one. Okay, so if I want to talk more about my mental health, I always have to ask the doctor. That one is false. Most people seem to get that one. So one way to manage our mental health is to talk about it with someone we trust. That is true.
So I'm wondering if Oscar may not have made it for some reason. So our next presenter is missing. So I'm going to jump in. So what is mental health? And mental health is about our feelings, thinking, emotions, and mood. Looking after our mental health is just as important as looking after our physical health. And in fact, a lot of research shows how connected our mental and physical health is. So mental health is important for a happy, healthy, and productive life. I'll let you do this one, Ms. Dash.
Yes, I'm happy to. Okay, so just some really important reminders about mental health. Everyone deserves to have good mental health. It is all about balance. It's about the ability to manage stress and to achieve one's potential. Stress is normal, but too much of it can increase the risk of health problems like depression. So making small improvements to the things that you can control, including nutrition, sleep, exercise, and coping skills, can help you to, excuse me, better manage your stress and achieve good mental health.
And good mental health is something everyone deserves. And if you're not feeling good about your mental health, it's time to get some support. And I've turned off the chat. And what gets in the way of mental health?
We were going to ask people to share out. But one thing that definitely can get in the way of good mental health is stress. And stress is natural and it is healthy in a lot of ways, but there if we don't deal with our stress and manage it appropriately, it can have some negative effects on us.
And health problems can emerge with too much stress. And so what we think and feel can impact our physical health as well.
I a little bit mentioned this already, but in terms of how can we manage our stress and promote good mental health, believe it or not, there's a number of things that you can do. And that we'll go into more detail, but that includes eating well, having good nutrition, getting the appropriate amount of sleep each night, having physical activity built into your everyday, and then really working on expanding your toolbox of coping skills and learning how to take care of yourself when you're having.
And this one, nutrition is one of the keys, and that's eating 3 balanced meals a day. And I hear from students that they're cooking and doing all kinds of things, and I really appreciate the effort you're putting. But I like what Miss Bilesma often says in health class, that the food is our fuel, and what you put in your body is what you're burning. And we need really good sources of fuel for ourselves to get through the day, especially now when our remote learning can seem really long, and what we eat can really make a difference on how we're able to focus and concentrate.
Another thing that's incredibly important for young people, especially, is getting sleep. And I've heard a variety of ranges. I've heard from 8 to 12 hours, really. And it's important to get good quality sleep. And I know, it's so tempting to bring your device into your bedroom and spend time unwinding by looking at, different social media sites or things like that. But realistically, you should keep separation from your electronics for at least an hour before your body can get settled down and restful for the evening. And your body really needs to get that sleep to regenerate the brain cells and body cells that help you grow, because adolescence is such a critical time for your body to grow and expand.
Exercise at least 2.5 hours per week. I know many of you do more than that, but exercise actually generates some really great chemicals in our body, endorphins, dopamine, things that are a natural way for us to feel good and really increase our resilience. So when challenges come, we're ready for it. And it's almost a bit of mental health first aid, preventative care, doing exercise.
And last but not least, coping skills. Coping skills are really the strategies we use to manage our stress. I don't know if anyone was able to attend the Wednesday seminar last week, but our counseling team did a whole presentation about different coping skills that you could add to your toolbox. So if that's something you'd like to learn more about, the link is available on the website. But it's really finding ways to channel that energy when you're hyped up. So finding things that you love, taking some time to journal your thoughts, or practice mindfulness. Those are some examples.
And I think many of us are aware of negative coping skills, but we can get into some habits that are actually hurtful to us. Avoiding harmful substances, drinking coffee later in the day that can impact your sleep, too much sugar, things like that, or even illegal substances, things that can really get in the way of us making healthy, positive choices, and reckless behavior that can lead to consequences where we actually get hurt. So we have to think about, is what I'm doing to help myself feel better helping me in the future or just in the moment? And we want things that are going to help you in the long term.
Mindfulness is one example of powerful coping skills. It only works if you practice doing it. Let's try and do a mindfulness activity together. So close your eyes and get into like a comfortable space. Slowly inhale 1, exhale 2, inhale 3, exhale 4. And then you can do this counting to 10. Let tension go in your shoulders and arms and hands and legs and feet. And slowly inhale 1, exhale 2, inhale 3, exhale 4. Open your eyes and ask yourself, how do I feel? This is a good practice that you can use anytime, anywhere. It will help slow down your breathing and relax. Now we are going to begin a conversation about understanding our feelings and learning the difference between everyday feelings and overwhelming feelings, and learn about teen depression. This information may help you identify depression in yourself or others. Depression is a real illness that is both common and serious. It is not something you can just snap out, and certainly not your fault. Like any other illness, depression requires professional treatment, and most importantly, you can get better to live a happy, healthy, productive life. In part 2, you will learn the difference between everyday feelings and overwhelming feelings, positive coping strategies, that depression is a common and serious mood disorder, and that depression is treatable. We will start by watching a video about 2 teens with 2 different experiences about mental health challenges.
You can't tell how someone feels just by looking at them or what they share online. To the outside world, our lives may look perfect, even if in reality they aren't. I'm always worrying about doing well at school, and with the end of year test coming up, I'm not sure how much longer I can cope. My thoughts swarm around my head, sometimes keeping me up all night. Some days it's just all too much, and I feel like I'm lost in space. When I did badly on one of my tests, I just about kept it together until I got home. Then I broke down crying in front of my mum. She listened for a bit, and then she told me that, just like physical health, we all have mental health. It's our feelings, our thinking, our emotions, and our moods. She then said that feeling down, angry, and stressed is a normal part of life, just like it's normal to feel happy, confident, and carefree sometimes. We all have positive and negative emotions that come and go based on what's happening around us. These are everyday feelings. Good mental health means experiencing negative emotions. It's not always about being happy. Mum can relate to the feelings of stress. So when Mum suggested I take a break from everything and do something I enjoy, I actually took her advice. So I made myself a hot chocolate, snuggled up in a duvet and watched a film. And you know what? Afterwards, I felt so much better. Mum should take her own advice.
Most of us only ever share the good things. We don't like to share how we really feel. Every morning when I wake up, negative thoughts stream through my head. Getting out of bed and pretending I'm okay takes all the energy I have. As the day goes on, the negative thoughts turn from a stream into a river. The water rushes through my head so loudly it's hard to concentrate in lessons. And some days it's so bad it feels like a waterfall that's trying to pull me over the edge. Everything is so overwhelming. I didn't think my friends would understand if I told them how down I was feeling. But when Sasha opened up to me about how stressed she was feeling, I told her. I wasn't sure how to bring up how I'd been feeling, so I started by saying that I didn't feel like myself. Just her listening made me feel like she understood. She told me some things that had helped her, so I tried them too, but it didn't make much of a difference. Even when I tried to be around my friends, I felt alone. The things I used to enjoy weren't fun anymore.
I was really worried about Andre and not sure what to do. He was quiet and wasn't hanging out with us like he used to. So I asked our head of year for some advice. He suggested I get Andre to speak to him since his negative feelings weren't going away.
I didn't want to speak to our head of year, but I also didn't want to keep feeling so down, so I went. He said that sometimes we have overwhelming feelings that can be more intense than our everyday feelings. These feelings hang around for a long time and change the way we feel, think, and behave. They can stop us doing what we want to in life. That's what I was going through. He also said that if we're physically unwell, we let people know, we ask for help. It should be no different with mental health. Sometimes our overwhelming feelings are brought on because of things in our life. Sometimes they happen for no reason at all. After hearing this, I felt much less alone and it felt good to talk. Scientists have found exercise can help when you're feeling low, so our head of year encouraged me to sign up to the school football club, which Sasha was already in. I still have days when the river is there. but now I'm beginning to understand my mental health. I'm learning how to cope. Our head of year reminded me that my friends, family, teachers, and lots of others at school are there to help just as much as he is. I had no idea the people around me could be so understanding. And while it's not always easy to talk about my mental health, the person I'm talking to might be able to help. If you don't feel like talking, that's fine. You could try writing, sports, reading, art, music, playing with your pet, whatever makes you feel better.
If you're the person someone talks to when they're struggling, just listen with no pressure or judgments. You don't have to have the answer. If you feel unsure about anything, you can speak to a trusted adult. Talking about mental health doesn't have to be difficult. After all, it's something we all have.
What are some examples of everyday feelings from this video? You guys, I think chat is disabled, but yeah. So yeah, you can just think about that, I guess. And what are some examples of overwhelming feelings?
And I have opened up the chat as long as people can be respectful and use it appropriately. So if you want to put something in the chat, what are feelings that Sasha and Andre experiencing differently? What are some things that he was experiencing? Great. Good job, everybody. Sadness, disconnected. Yeah, really great input. Depression, super overwhelmed. Really good. And it's really important that you can put words to these feelings if you or a friend are experiencing them. Disconnected. Yeah. Lonely. Really good input, everybody. Yeah, great.
Yeah, so obviously you guys can read through the chat and see your peers' examples, but a lot of these are like sadness and depression and stuff like that. Is there someone who's like willing to speak actually and tell what they think the differences between them? Okay, a few people are raising their hands, so.
Kira, why don't you call on people?
Okay, Ava, you're raising your hand, so.
Well, I was noticing that although they were both feeling like depressed, in a sense, Andre was feeling like kind of just like disconnected and unmotivated, and Sasha was just kind of feeling just like the bundle of stress. So I just noticed that they felt like different.
Yeah, that's a very good example. Alexandra?
So Sasha, she only got like the stress from the finals, which like after the finals would probably be gone. And also the difference is the way they found like to get better. Like Sasha, she had some like alone time and started reflecting on her thoughts. But Andre, he had to talk with someone and realize that he's not alone in this.
Really appreciate that. Great feedback. And that's really the point, that you're not alone. And that's what we really want to get across to everybody. Let me go to the next slide.
Okay, so everyday feelings come and go and are normal reaction to what's happening in our lives. There are always changing and we don't usually hang around for too long. Overwhelming feelings hang around for a long time. Change the way we feel and behave, and they may stop you from doing what you want to in life. You have heard people call their mental health a problem, mental illness, or mental disorder. And then you guys can put in chat some ideas of what you think everyday feelings are and overwhelming feelings are, and some feelings that might overlap.
And again, I really appreciate that the 99% of you are using the chat appropriately. And if you're not able to use it appropriately, we can follow up with you later privately. Yeah, really great. You guys are really getting this. And that's what I was talking about at the beginning. When feelings don't go away, those overwhelming feelings stick around. That's when it's time to get support. All right. Kira, anything else you want to say to summarize this?
These thoughts in chat are really, really good and really like true.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go to the next slide.
Yeah, you can see on this next slide, we have the two different people's pictures here, and you can see where some of their feelings overlap in the video and stuff like that, and how their feelings are very different as well, like we previously talked about.
Yeah.
Does anyone want to share examples of what Sasha did to manage her everyday feelings?
She just tried to relax.
Saw Alon's hand go up. Alon, do you want to share out?
Oh, I said that she just tried to relax.
I just wanted to share. Oh, were you talking to me or Alana?
Alon, sorry.
Okay, so me. So what I was gonna say was that Sasha, one thing that she does to manage her everyday feeling is to just go back to a normal that is suggested by someone else. So her mom suggests her to relax for a little bit, and I think that kind of gets her back on track, and it kind of lets her melt away the stress that that's pent up.
Yeah, that's great. Good catch. And Alana, sorry for the confusion. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I was just basically saying that she was trying to relax.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and these are all things that we as humans can benefit from doing, right?
Like Netflix and chill time and talking to people and doing that self-care when we need it. So good examples, everybody.
Yeah, so she just made sure that she had time to relax and unwind and regroup her thoughts and everything. So yeah.
Hi, my name is Raisa, and I'm an 8th grader at IMS and a Source of Strength peer leader. If you guys can put in the chat or say out loud, what does Andre do to manage his overwhelming feelings? What coping things did he do throughout the video? And Owen, if you want to talk about it, you go ahead.
Okay. So Andre, he talks to a counselor, or in this case, the head of year, to like talk about his mental health and his feelings.
Yeah, good. Will, do you want to add on that?
Hi. But he joins the soccer team in England. They call it football, and he talks to someone about his mental health and how he's feeling.
Okay, great. And in the chat, I can see a ton of people saying that he joined a soccer team, he talked to his counselor. Great. For the next slide, about Yeah, so here are some examples of what can be done to manage the overwhelming feelings we were talking about. So there's coping mechanisms. You can talk to a friend or adult, and you can talk to a therapist about it. Yeah. So the concept of stigma has already kind of been brought up throughout the presentation, but now it's the time to identify stigma and explain how it can make it difficult for people to ask help or identify their overwhelming feelings. So again, if you can put in the chat, what made it hard for Andre to talk about his mental health or ask for people to help? Elon, go ahead. I hope I said that correctly, sorry.
Yeah. I think one thing that made it hard for Andre to talk about his mental health was probably the gap that he felt between him and his friends.
Yeah, totally. People are saying he felt alone. He thought no one else would understand what he was going through. Yeah, great job. Yeah, okay. And now stigma. What is stigma? So stigma is a mark of shame associated with a particular circumstance, quality, or person. So again, just like at the beginning, if you guys want to raise your hand or put it in the chat, what conditions do you think Andre was suffering from? Owen, go ahead again.
I think he was suffering from depression.
Yeah, I agree. And everyone else in the chat seems to agree with you too. Yeah, it was kind of obvious.
And I think it's important to know that even pre-COVID, 1 in 5 young people will experience depression in their life. And that's kind of between the ages of 14 and 21. So we need to really be able to recognize it in ourselves and potentially in our friends and think about how to support them. And I like somebody put early depression, and the earlier you can catch it, the quicker we can support you. You can get help to move out of that.
And I would just add, Raisa touched on the concept of stigma, but we do presentations like this because we want very much for young people to understand that mental health is a part of life. And we're trying to sort of reduce the stigma around asking for help and make it, known that that's totally an appropriate and acceptable thing to do if you're having a hard time. You've got a counseling team at school, you've got tons of trusted adults, I hope you feel, at school, who are always available and open to talking to students who are having a hard time.
Yeah. Yori, do you want to add anything?
Yes, I would like to add something. I would like to add on the fact that since we don't know anything before he went to this school, we may not know that he was bullied in the past, and sometimes long-term effects from bullying can lead to depression.
That's true.
Really excellent point. And that all kinds of life experiences, including our physiology and our own biology and our family history, can make an impact on how we're susceptible more or less to depression as well. And so life experiences and our internal workings. Really good point.
Okay, so what is depression? So depression, a common mood disorder with specific changes in mood, thoughts, and behaviors. So what Andre was talking about throughout the video. So depression, it can happen to anyone. It's common and treatable, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. There's hope, and you deserve to feel better. So here are some symptoms so you can see it in yourself or in others. So these symptoms must be present nearly all day, every day for 2 weeks or more. So these include change in mood, depressed or irritable, decreased interest or pleasure in most activities, significant weight changes or change in appetite, change in sleep, sleeping too much or too little, changing activity, feeling sped up or slow down, fatigue or loss of energy, negative self-perception, feeling worthless or excessive or inappropriate guilt, problem thinking clearly, diminished ability to think, concentrate, or indecisiveness, and suicidality, thoughts of death or suicide or acts of self-harm. So here are some behavior changes. Using drugs or alcohol, problems getting to school, a drop in grades, physical aches and pains, a change in friends, running away, reckless behavior, lack of attention to appearance or hygiene, and aggression. So, what are some examples of how depression impacted these parts of Andre's life? So if you can put it in the chat again or raise your hand, we can have a little discussion about that. Yeah, I'll repeat the question one more time. Maybe I didn't say it clearly, but what are some examples of how depression impacted parts of Andre's life? So maybe his social life, or how he was in general, his sleeping schedule. Okay, there's some great things in the chat. He couldn't pay attention in class. He wasn't getting along with his friends. These are really good. Yeah, he didn't have fun doing the things.
I want to pipe in. I got a sorry, Raisa. I got a private message that I think worth mentioning. Just that I think as a young middle school student, it's really easy to kind of compare yourself to somebody else. And so I think it's important to remember that your problems and your challenges are all relative. And just because you maybe haven't had a major life event or something, if you are feeling sad, you are absolutely entitled to those feelings. So don't, I want to make sure you don't feel like you have to question yourself, like, or get upset with yourself for feeling emotional when you think maybe your problems aren't as big as somebody that's close to you, because it is relative and we want everybody's an individual. And so, in thinking about that, there's whatever's hard for you is hard for you. And so the bar is whatever it needs to be in terms of reaching out for help. Some people handle stress a lot better than others. And so just a reminder that if you need help, that's okay. You don't need to be concerned that your problems aren't significant enough.
And unfortunately, sometimes adults in your world may not validate how you're feeling. And I want you to know that when you're 13 or older, you are allowed by the law in Washington State to seek support for counseling and mental health. And it may be that people are telling you you don't need that, but you feel you do. It's important for you to check in with a trusted adult in your world. That could be one of your teachers at IMS. They've all been trained as well, along with anyone on our counseling team, and we'll help you figure out what would be a good next step to support you. And it may be joining a club, or getting more exercise, or doing something fun, or it may be needing additional support from other professionals. But that's something we can help you figure out.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
So now that we know and understand depression, we're going to talk about where you can find valid and reliable information, where you can find help and support, and how you can ask for help for yourself or for a friend.
So adults like parents, teachers, social workers, religious leaders, coaches, and others are all excellent examples of trusted adults. And the trusted adult is an adult who is reliable, dependable, trustworthy, and can help you. So think about the trusted adults in your life. Without naming names, put the title of your trusted adult in the chat. For example, you can write counselor, teacher, coach, parent, etc. So we have lots of parents and counselors. Okay, great. Everyone's kind of along the same line.
I just see teachers and coaches on there too.
Yeah.
Other relatives.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, so sometimes people feel ashamed to ask for help. So how do you ask for help? So you can tell a trusted adult how you're feeling, you've tried, or what they can do to help.
Oscar, are you with us now?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Oscar. And so, yeah, sometimes people do feel ashamed to ask for help. But how can you help them? You can go talk to them by saying, I've noticed changes in you and I care for you, and how can I help you? You should be a good friend by listening, showing you care, and helping them find help. And where can I learn more about that? What other valid or reliable people, resources, or information can you access to learn more about mental health and depression? Yeah, if you know of any resources, you should definitely go to them, and the counselors are a great resource, or also just your parents or a trusted adult that you like to talk to, and they can definitely help you out.
So if you need immediate help or you are genuinely worried about someone's immediate like safety and stuff like that, you can always call 911. If you want to talk to someone, on the screen you can see the list of IMS counseling team. All of them would be glad to help you. So yeah. And we encourage you to put this information in your phone, put these phone numbers in your phone. You can take a photo of it. Yeah, these contacts are good to have just in case you need them.
You could also take a photo of this slide right now if you don't have time to program it.
And I want you to know that we ask our teachers to take a picture of this information when we do a presentation for them. It's a little bit different, but we want everybody to have these numbers in their phone. And concerns about folks who are having trouble with mental health, that's much broader than just middle schoolers, of course. But I think Ms. Dash and I, we all know people who can use support at some time. So this isn't just for you, this is for everyone. Raisa, I think this is for you.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know. Sorry for the background noise, but depression, it can happen to anyone. It is common and treatable, and it is nothing to be ashamed of. There's hope. You deserve to feel better.
All right, you guys, we so appreciate your focus and attention, and all the really good information you shared out in the chat really gives us confidence that you're hearing us and paying attention, and getting some good takeaways. So in order to get credit for today, you have two things you need to do. One is to do the survey that's posted right here. We could put the link in the chat if that's helpful. And that's a short survey for the creators of Erica's Lighthouse, which is the organization that has created the presentation we gave today. They just want a little bit of feedback. And then furthermore, we have a Google form exit ticket that is really your ticket to get credit for today's presentation. And it's going to ask just a couple very quick questions, but really just doing a self-check on how you are feeling and if you feel like you need further support for yourself or somebody that you care about. And we really do hope this information has been useful and helpful. Mr. Brown said this at the beginning, and I'll just reiterate, this has been a really hard year. a really, really hard year with a lot of change, a lot of unexpected disappointment. And we understand and respect and empathize that with you for that reason. And so, we're trying to reduce the stigma. We really want to encourage you to know that there's a great care team at school who is more than happy to talk to you about anything that's on your mind. No problems too big or too small for us. So please let us know in that exit ticket. And if you ever have any questions at all, just don't hesitate to reach out to us. I